All right, good morning. This is a special day. We're doing Luke chapter 14, 15, and 16 today. And then we're going to talk about the repo bailout. Okay. Chapter 14 starts off where Christ is in the synagogue and he heals a man with some sort of edema. He's swollen up, and so he asks the Pharisees, what is the rule? What is the law about healing on the Sabbath? And they don't answer him. So he heals the guy, and then he does a teaching to the disciples about humility. Okay, and he tells them, don't sit if you get invited somewhere, don't sit in the place of honor. Okay. Because if somebody that's really important comes along and has to take your seat, then you're going to be humiliated. All right. But if you are invited to sit if you sit in the back, and you get invited to sit at the front, then that's an edifying thing, right? And then he goes and he talks about this great dinner where the master invites everybody, and they all make excuses. Oh, I just bought some land. I need to go survey my land, and I just bought a bull. I gotta check out my bull or my ox, and please excuse me. And then when I got married, I can't go. I just got married, right? And so the master has them go out in the streets and get people, and then he tells them to go again. Like, we did that already. Because, go in the side streets or go out in the back roads and get, bring them all in. I want a full house. Okay. Those ones that I invited that refused, they ain't getting in. They ain't getting any of they're not getting any of this feast. Okay. And so then he goes in so that's chapter 14. In chapter 15, he goes into the parable of lost sheep. Okay, it's talking about repentant sinners. Okay, and how there be God rejoices when people repent and come to God, and he just it's joyous for him to do that, and it's better than those have been haven't strayed their whole life and just stayed in the straight and narrow the whole life and never had to go see why sin is bad, right, and come back. Okay. And then let's see. Then in chapter 16, this is the first chapter that I ever really got to memorize when I was learning scriptures, right? And he's talking about the dishonest man accused. It doesn't say he was dishonest. He was accused of being dishonest. And his master said, "You make accounts, get all your accounts in order. You're not going to be working here no more." And so he's like, well, so what he does is he calls all his master's debtors in, and he settles for half of what they owe him, or 3/4 of what they owe him, right? Or the master. And the master commends him, and the reason for doing it is he does them a favor. Then when he's being put out, they'll welcome him in because he helped them out. Okay, and the master commended him for being shrewd, because now he has he may not have everything that he was promised, but he's got 100% more than what he had. Okay, because they owed him the wheat, and they owed him the cattle, and they owed him, you know, the sheep. Okay, but he didn't have any of it. So now he's got more than what he had. Not as much as what he was owed, but he's got a lot more than, he's got payment. Okay, and then Luke 16:9. Use worldly wealth to gain friends, for when it is gone, you'll be welcome in eternal dwellings. Okay, that is this got me into the finance world. Okay, this chapter and that verse, I became a debt management consultant, and I did very well at that, and that led me into the mortgage business, and I did very well at that until it stopped. Okay, in 2006, I was heavy with construction loans. That got hit first, and then I shifted over to financial services, and I struggled with that for a while. And right when I started, it was like things just went. God has a way of clearing the slate quick, right? I just qualified as marketing director, and then my wife divorced me, and my car had a little pinhole leak in the radiator hose that ruptured before I got it fixed, cracked the head of my car, and so this happened. I was making $200,000 a year, like 5 years in a row, and then it just stopped. And this guy sitting next to me goes, "We're going through a period of global secular reshuffling." I said, "What?" He goes, "I'm sorry. I'm a retired economics and sociology professor. And all those systems that we've learned to count on and depend on are failing. All right, they're all, and there's going to be an equalization." Okay, and that was 9 years ago. Okay, and I heard this from Paul Dietrich. Okay, so there's bifurcation in the markets. So financial advisors and money managers, and they're no longer, they do have to do things different because nobody trusts the banking system any longer. And what they're greedy. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, banks were meant to handle transactions. Okay, and hold your money, keep it safe. All right, they make money via arbitrage. They lend your money out. They pay you 1%, and they lend it out. Credit cards charge them 23 to 28%, and that's how banks traditionally make their money. But they want to make a lot of money, right? So that's how they do it. And they forgot their purpose. All right, and so what's happened? The bifurcation in the market is these money managers are going to be, instead of looking at what sector the market is going to take off, agriculture or energy or the manufacturing, whatever it is, and loading up in mutual funds, right? And buying these mutual funds, what they're doing is they're looking for good leadership, smart board of advisors, good marketing, good manufacturing. but now they're also looking at low debt because they don't trust the banks. And you got to hear what I'm saying, all right? And the by and then so that's what they're going to put their money in. Those that have have it together or have a lot of capital. Those are the ones that the investment these hedge funds, or not even hedge funds. It's going to be insurance companies and pension funds are going to be putting their monies with companies that are at low risk because they're not dependent on the banks. Okay, so then this other lady came and she used to be part of the Fed, and she's talking about how what the strategy is to get the economy going and create jobs is lowering interest rates. So people are going to put their money in the market rather than the banks because their money's not going to grow at 1%. The rule of 72, whatever interest rate you earn your money divided into 72 determines how fast your money doubles. So if you get 1%, it's going to take 72 years for your money to double, and that's not enough. And so people have put, finally they're putting their money in the market. But what's happened is it's not individual investors. It's the corporations. They're buying back their stock, okay? And the reason they're doing that is because they don't want to be dependent on the banks, okay? Which means they're going to get more investment dollars, okay? And you can sell stock, all right, and not have to pay it back. It's not a loan. That's how businesses just create capital. They go public. They make a stock offering. That money that comes in from the stock, right, that they use that to run their business and expand their business, okay? And then it gets traded and doesn't benefit the company whatsoever after they do the initial public offering, right? The investors manipulate it and do all kinds of things so they can make money with it. They put in puts and then they tickle it, with buys to get it to create some activity, and then they make money, and then they sell it again, and that's how a lot of traders make money. Okay, but these companies are buying back their stock. Okay, by buying back this stock, they're attracting more investment dollars. All right, and in theory, that once they start making enough money on their stock, they start hiring more people, and we do have more jobs. Okay, the problem is the liquidity in the banks. The banks are not attractive enough to get enough investors, all right, so they can do their operations, such as the overnight lending. That is the challenge. Now, once there's more people working and putting their money in in their checking accounts and their savings, because that's what the bank used to operate with. Okay, and they're being squeezed. They're tight right now because of the increased reserve requirements created by Dodd-Frank after the 2008. Okay, so that's all of what's going on, which is going to create a bifurcation in the market with the consumer or the savers, basically. Okay, so those people that are not dependent don't have a lot of debt. Okay, they're going to be pretty unscathed unless they're working for a company that's going to go out of business because they're heavily dependent on the banks, and that's going to cause a problem. Okay, but the big fish are going to swallow the little fish. Okay, there's going to be situations where people are coming in. Consultants are going to, okay, I can buy this company up. I can buy up their debt and take over this company and change some things around and make it more profitable. That's what Jason Cisneros does. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of that going on. The banks are in trouble. Okay, the banks are the most heavily, the big ones especially. Um, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Okay, because the banks that they go to for the overnight lending aren't liking what they're doing, and that's a challenge. Okay, and that's why they're holding back. You hear it said that they had a corporate taxes were due in October, and that depleted a lot of their reserves, and I'm not so sure I believe that. Okay, I think it's just an excuse. Um, but the real problem is there's not enough. They don't have enough deposits. People are not putting their money in. It's not that people aren't saving. People are not saving in the bank. Okay, they're keeping their money in a safe under the mattress, right? They're keeping cash, okay, or they've got their money somewhere else in index funds. Okay, so index funds, like with insurance companies, they're they're gonna do whatever the S&P does. Okay, they usually have a guarantee 0 to 2%. Can't lose their money. Okay, and they get a cap anywhere from 10 to 17%, something like that. And some don't have a cap after like 5 years. Okay, but those advisors with those insurance companies are making money on arbitrage, and they're putting the money in where they're dictating where that money goes, and they're going to pick a low risk, high yield investment, which is probably going to be some kind of company that is not dependent on the banks, is high in liquidity, and has a lot of capital, all right, and then has a surefire record. So there's going to be it's called a bifurcation. There's the ones that are heavy with debt are going to fall off the face of the earth or get gobbled up by the bigger fish, and the ones that aren't, they're going to go higher. So that's what's happened. And then they're the ones that are heavy with the debt, they're gonna be in trouble, and so are the people that are working for them. Okay, and so how does this apply? Basically, the banks are similar to the Pharisees. Okay, they're not really doing it the right way. They're not really following the rules correctly. Okay, they're making up their own rules, right? And which is why they have a problem right now. And a big thing is it's just a lack of trust. Okay, it's a lack of trust. And I don't think pulling all your money out of the bank and putting it in a credit union is going to make a difference. Okay, I think that's irresponsible. All right, but the banks do not have the investments that people need. People, they're not going to, Bank of America and Merrill Lynch are now the same company, and they're in the market, of course, with Merrill Lynch, but that money, they're going to make money on fees or advisory fees. That money is going to be in. If you go invest with them, your money's with the companies that you're invested in. Okay, through mutual funds or straight up stocks or whatever. Okay, so that's how that's going to apply. And there's creating up new everybody that has money wants more money, and they're looking for ways to make more money, and people are creating all kinds of different, they call them derivatives. Okay, they're which could be anything that's not right, anything that's a put, or so you're buying You're putting in a buy order at a really low, right? And then, but then you also put in, or or you put it, so when it comes down, you got that, but your money's just sitting there waiting for it to fall, right? There's At one point there was more derivatives out there than there were um, than there was actual money. There was more money in derivatives than there was actually capital. Isn't that crazy? Um, so it just they've just been playing. They just didn't want to play by the rules, by the way and they got everybody dependent on debt and student loans, and people aren't, instead of saving, they're spending. They make it a consumer economy, and what's going to happen is the people that cash is going to be king again, and people that are saving are going to be dictating, and if you talk to all the people that that lived through the Depression, right? They were all really good savers. Why? Because they had, they saw uh, the problems when the people that didn't, okay, and that they're, they didn't. That's why they were good savers, because they lived through the hard times, and that's coming back. But it's going to be coming back, not for everybody, and maybe it may be bigger, but I think it's going to be shorter. But I'm not I'm not an economist. I'm just had to take everything I heard and put it together with everything I know, and that's what I'm seeing. Basically, those with the right fundamentals, they got our protection. They've managed their debt. Either they've got it, under control, or they've paid it off, whatever. They've got an emergency fund, so they don't have to go to their credit cards, and they're putting the money away for the future. Okay, and that's what we do. We have financial literacy workshops and teaching people how to do exactly this kind of thing, and then also, protecting their money from taxes. All right, but basically the tie-in to this, oh yeah, the dishonest manager in Luke 16 is Christ. Okay, he's accused of being dishonest by the Jews or the Pharisees. Okay, and doing things in the name of God, claiming to be God. All right, and they didn't like that very much. Right, but he opened up the salvation to everybody else. Okay, bam. Okay, so the dishonest manager in Luke 16 is Christ. Okay, and he's offering salvation to the Gentiles, right, and the whole rest of the world, and he's able to do that because he was the Messiah, because he was without original sin, and that's without sin, period, right? And he just totally depended on the Father, and that's what God wants. Okay, all right. So that is my. That's what I got out of these 3 chapters. Have a great day.